Well, hello there. My name is Mike Koenigs, and today you're watching You Everywhere Now TV, and today we're talking about what I learned from interviewing over 1,000 people. I'm going to give you some tips for interviews and what you should and shouldn't do. Now, these are a bunch of things that I've learned over my career, and I've had the good opportunity to interview Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, JJ Virgin, Jordan Belfort, who's the Wolf of Wall Street, Richard Dreyfuss, the Academy Award-winning actor, and hundreds of business owners, entrepreneurs, millionaires, even some billionaires, and socially conscious game changers from all over the world. Now, here are a few things that I've learned after interviewing over 1,000 people. The first one is do your research. That means watch and listen and read as many interviews with this person as you can. Number two is determine some kind of an outcome or a result that you want with that person ahead of time. In other words, what do you want the audience to get out of this interview that you're doing with someone? What's the big takeaway that you want them to feel or experience? And the reality is, sometimes you don't know all this stuff for sure, and it may change over the course of the interview, but having some sort of an intention makes a big, big difference. Now, here's another one, especially if you're not experienced, which is prepare all your questions ahead of time. Now, it doesn't mean you can't vary and go deep if you want to, but if you don't have some sort of agenda ahead of time, what happens is your interview will go really, really long, even though it doesn't feel or seem that way at the time, and you're going to find out that you're going to get a lot of loss of people jumping off and saying, this thing went all over the place and I didn't know where it was going. All right, here's another one. Get them really, really comfortable ahead of time. When you're sitting down with them, give them what we call an easy out. In other words, you can tell someone before, if I ask you something that you're not comfortable with, it doesn't matter what it is, just say, hey, let's move on to something else, or I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not going to push you. And the reason for that, especially as you're getting going, if you haven't interviewed someone before, is you may not have the rapport or the experience or the celebrity expertise to really demand something. Like, let's say a Howard Stern can ask crazy, crazy questions of something because he's got an elevated status. All right, here's another one. When you're introducing someone, keep that introduction super, super short. You don't want to take some pre-arranged bio that's 3 or 4 paragraphs long. It's so boring. Instead, it's let the person you're interviewing tell their story, because they're going to do it really well, or use the questions to get into that and allow them to humanize themselves, okay, which is a great opener. What you can do is you can open up the interview by saying something like, hey, will you tell us something right now, share something that's really interesting, bizarre, or strange about you no one else knows about. It's a great icebreaker, it's super interesting, and you never know what'll pop out of someone's mouth. Now, another one is try to get whoever you're interviewing to tell a whole bunch of short before and after stories. And the reason being is you're going to be able to go on a journey with them, and that compresses time. It increases trust with your audience. It increases the trust that they have in you, and that also builds your status and your value in your audience's mind, and most importantly, in the interviewee's mind. Now, here's another thing that you can do. You can ask them and say, look, what did you learn from that experience? What was the biggest nugget? What was the biggest takeaway? Again, you don't have to know anything about the topic or subject. You're going to sound like a genius, and they're going to lay on some gigantic lessons that most likely you're going to be able to use in your life also. Now, here's another thing that you can do. In fact, I'm doing it right now. Set up a timer on your phone, and that way you can keep your question and answer segment to 3 to 4 minutes max, okay? Again, shorter is better. All right, here's another one. The environment you're in. Make sure it is quiet and controlled. My personal preference, I don't like to do interviews outside, for example, or in a restaurant or a noisy area where there might be people running around. It can mess with the energy of the interview, and you want to keep things as controlled as possible. And if you're doing a Skype interview or something like that, make sure you got your doors closed, you're not next to a ventilation shaft, etc., etc. Okay, and if you're doing video, make sure you have great lighting. You can see here, now this is advanced, but I've got multiple angles. Really well lit. It doesn't cost a lot of money to get some good looking lights, and it's going to make you look and sound like a total pro. Here's one more. If possible, have someone monitor the audio to make sure everything is on and recording, because I've had situations before where I've done an entire interview only to find out the mute switch was on somewhere, or something went wrong and I didn't know about it till after the fact. And that's if I'm doing a live interview. Of course, that wouldn't happen if it's remote. But imagine if you got a great recording with someone that you fought long and hard to get into a place with you, and you started the recording, you bumped the switch, only to find out it didn't happen. That person's got to catch a plane and they're a celebrity. You'd feel miserable. That chance may never happen again. And that leads me to another one, which is save, upload, and back up the recordings. Here's another one. I have messed this up a bajillion times myself, which is I forget to take pictures of the person I'm interviewing with. It's happened several times, and sometimes it'll take me a year to get that person back. So that's what I got for you. I hope you've enjoyed this segment, and take advantage of any opportunity you have to interview someone. And if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like more like it that can add value to your life, help you make more money in your business and elevate your value and help you share your message, get seen, heard, viewed, listened to anytime, anywhere on demand. That's what this is all about. YouEverywhereNow.com. Visit YouEverywhereNow.com or go to yen.tv. And by the way, subscribe to this YouTube channel, comment, share this with a few friends that can benefit from these tips and more. Thanks for watching.